Hey, Sivan here. Welcome to this video. In this one we're going to be talking about duplicate and duplicate special and some of the options inside the duplicate special. So what we're going to start with is just a polygon primitive cube, and we're going to look at the base level duplicate to start with. So duplicate pretty much works in the same way as copy and paste. There's only one thing to sort of be careful with. When we start with a beginning object, we have things like poly inputs and subdivs and things like that. As soon as we duplicate it, we lose these options and history. So that's the one thing we kind of need to be a little bit careful with. But other than that, it's a pretty useful tool. So for a standard duplicate, all we want to do is just select an object and press Ctrl D. What will happen is, like I said, over in the outliner, we've lost our history and we've lost our inputs, but we've gained another object. It will always be placed directly on top of the original. We just need to kind of drag it apart. You can do this as many times as you want. So for a standard duplicate, it's just Ctrl D. The main thing we want to look at though is a duplicate special. So I'm going to put my object back to the middle. Duplicate special is very useful in quite a few sort of different situations. I'm going to show you a couple of possible ways to use it. So first one, I'm just going to change my object so it looks a little bit more maybe like a support on a banister or something, or a walkway. Right, so what we can do with this is, say if we need 20 of these to fill out a gap across our banister. Let me just quickly make it top and bottom so it looks a bit better. So just making a top. And I'm going to duplicate this and put it on the bottom. So we've got our kind of top and bottoms here, but we want this object to kind of fill out that gap with some sort of spacing in between. We could obviously just duplicate and keep sort of moving it and sort of place it slowly across the whole space. But this takes quite a while, and also the spacing kind of won't be perfect. So what we can do is use a duplicate special to do the sort of boring and long bit for us. So what we need to do is, under Edit, we have Duplicate Special, and it has options inside. So we want to go into the options. First thing you're going to want to do is Edit, Reset Settings. This will always hold the last settings you did for a duplicate special. So there's a few things we're going to go through in this now, and a few things we're going to go through in a later video. The main things we're going to focus on now is this sort of section here. So we want to move this object down this kind of length here. I would suggest a good thing, a kind of good work practice to do, is if you freeze the transformation. So I've got it on my custom bar, otherwise it's in Modify Freeze Transformation. What we want to do is, just with that object selected, duplicate it once and kind of get the placement that we want for the distance we want between these. So I've just moved it across a little bit, and what I've then got, because I've freezed the transformations, I've now got an exact value in my channel box that will tell me how far I've moved it. So because I've freezed it, everything was set to 0. So if I put it back, it's 0. And then all I've done is just kind of moved it to where I'm sort of happy with it. What we can then do with this value, I'm just going to round it to make it easier. What we can then do with this value is we can put it into our duplicate special. So translate, I'm translating X by 0.9. So remember, the 3 boxes is the same as the global up here. So X, Y, Z, same for all 3 of these. And I want to translate it by 0.9. Number of copies is how many more you're going to make. So it doesn't include the one you have selected. So I say let's try another 10. We're making copies, and it's just going to be parented under the original. So let's hit duplicate special. So that's basically what a duplicate special will do. I can then grab that last one and press G again to run that last action. Alternatively, I could have undone it back to the beginning and just up this to maybe 25. Yeah, and then we can just delete the end ones or anything that's overlapping. That's the kind of standard setup for a duplicate special. There are other things we can do with it. So if you want to get a little bit, we can use it for things like staircases as well. So all we're doing with something like a staircase is adding another value in. So I've got my kind of step sort of made. I want to freeze transformation so everything's 0, and then I'm going to duplicate and move it to kind of where I'm happy with it. So it's sort of there. So I've then got my values. I'm just going to round these off. So I've got my values there. Edit, duplicate special. Remember to reset your settings, and I want to, in the Y, 0.9, Z, minus 1.2, and I want 10 copies. And it will make a staircase for us. Yep, so that's the kind of basic settings in a duplicate special. It just kind of speeds up doing boring and time-consuming duplicates. The main thing is just working out the values. Sometimes you will need to do a little bit of maths and get the correct figures for it. You can also do things like spiral staircases with it. So in a previous video we moved pivot points. So if you wanted something like a spiral staircase, you'd need to grab your pivot point, so press insert to get this up, hold down V, and then we want to snap it to one of our corners. What we can then do, we need to hit insert to confirm that first, and what we need to do is first off, we can probably still use some of our base settings in here. Let's have a look. So we need to move it up, but we don't want to move it forwards anymore, so we want to 0 that out, but we do want to rotate it around the Y. We'll try about 20 degrees for now. So we can get a spiral staircase with it as well. You just need to kind of input more values, and you also have scale options as well, so you can make objects smaller as they go on. The only thing to be careful with this is every time you do it, it bases it on the previous scale. So say if I put this to 0.5 and 0.5 and 0.5 and then did a duplicate, they get smaller and smaller basing on each other. So it's each one is 0.5 of the previous one. So you have to be a little bit cautious with the scale one. But that's the standard duplicate and some of the duplicate special settings. Like I said, we'll be looking at more things we can do with duplicate special in one of the later videos. See you there.